Cadia still stands.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and in this video, we're going to unbox and build and show you how to, well, yeah, actually, I guess we actually are going to use some magnets, make all the versions of the weapon battery as well as the Sentinel too. So pretty neat kits inside of this new Cadia Stands Imperial Guard Army box. Now it's $200 US. Don't forget you can always get your hobbies for less from dicehead.com, Amazon, and hopefully your local game store as well. And here's the contents here, and we'll go over this in a little bit more depth here in a second. But I did want to point out, because a lot of people were wondering this, the base sizes, which we'll show you also when we get inside of here. So the Cadian shock troops themselves, the infantry, stayed on 25s, which is really good because I didn't feel like rebasing all my death cores. But, you know, I still feel for all you orc players out there. The command squads are on 28s, so a little bit bigger of a base, I suppose. If you are going to be taking those, and then of course your heroes are probably, we haven't seen them yet, but I imagine they're going to be something kind of similar here. The ordnance team, it's kind of wild, but these are on 100 mil bases, so the same as the new hover tanks from Space Marines. I'm trying to think what else is on 100. Oh, the armigers I think are also on hundreds. The armored Sentinel, however, is it looks like it's just on the standard 60 mil base. Nope, I take that back. That's an 80 mil base. So they made that a bigger base size than what we had seen in the past. So I am going to have to, unfortunately, rebase some of my models in my Deathcore Creeks collection. But I'm not very upset about that. I'm just not really motivated to do it. So that's fine. So here's a look at the values. And now when I said I'm not very motivated to do it, if I was motivated to play with my guardsmen and play Warhammer 40k, yeah, I'd be all about like, hey, I got to rebase some stuff, and you know, I even got some, and I'll show you some of the extra Kriegsman weapon team guys that I can put on there. I'm just not really motivated to really super hobby into 40k right now because I mean I do it for this content here, but I'm just not motivated to put the models on the tabletop, unfortunately, and I definitely don't want to dedicate learning the latest, you know, Nephilim book rules and all those things when I know everything's going to get rebooted in 6 months. And I feel like, judging from a lot of comments and things, that's kind of how a lot of people seem to be feeling out there in all the social medias and comments that we've read, at least. So I get it. I totally get it. I would rather put my time and energy into something that I'm not going to have to relearn in 6 months or even 8 months, you know. But, you know, some folks, the hobby of keeping up with it all is their hobby, and they love it because they got their army, and that's great. But that's just not where I'm at in my hobby journey, I suppose. But I always like looking at this stuff from the business standpoint and seeing the breakdowns on all the values and things. So the box is $200, and we've seen that that's pretty much been the standard price since, you know, 2021, give or take. These types of boxes used to be $160, then they slowly crept up to $180, and now they're at $200. But you know, in 2022, you can't, you know, there's real money and there's GW money, and I think both, it's understandable that have gone up in that time. So let's take a look at this right here. All right, so here's the values that we're kind of thinking right here. Now the Kriegsmen didn't start out being $60, but they are $60 now from Games Workshop. So if we had to guess, the two 10-man squads in here are probably going to be right around $60. They could be as low as $50, but I think, you know, with the current Cadian upgrade sprue even being kit with the upgrade sprue being $50, I just really think they're going to be at least $50 or $60. Cadian Command Squad currently is $42. I would imagine the one that comes in here is going to be at least $45, maybe $50, give or take. Remember, Aspect Warrior models from Eldar are also on 28s, and they are 50 and 55 if I recall correctly. The Sentinel at 60 kind of puts it in the same realm as like the Dragoons from AdMech, or even a Contemptor Dreadnought, which isn't on a 60 now. I would say it maybe puts it more in the Leviathan range, but I couldn't see putting an $80 price tag on a Sentinel. That just seems ridiculous. So I'm hoping it's around $60, but if anything, it'll probably be more. I'd like to see it less, but I would imagine it would probably be more. And the one that was a little bit trickier, the field ordnance teams, you get 2 to the box, and all the sprues that are combined, which I'm about to show you, kind of put it at $70 because the Fire Strike turret for Space Marines, you got one of them for 35. It was ETB, and it was only one sprue, and this is 2 sprues. Armatures originally were $70 for 2 in a box. Now I think they're $80. So I could definitely see this being around 70, if not more, maybe even 80. That would put a ton of value in this box if that is the case. Codex, $55 standard price. Remember, this is just the variant, not a limited edition. They will put out a limited edition version when the time is right. And they said next year, air quotes, they will be putting the Codex out for individual sale, which really theoretically is only about 5-6 weeks away. And then, of course, the data cards and everything right there. So if you take all these averages or these kind of lowball figures, which I feel like they're lowballs, you're looking at a total MSRP of $388. And so savings versus box price is approximately $188. Now, you know, a lot of that comes from the Codex and the cards. And in a lot of cases, you basically end up getting them for free if you buy this. So I could see where a lot of guard players are going to really want this box, because not only does it come with all new miniatures, it also comes with the rules for those miniatures, you know, the brand new book, a little bit of early access in there, which has its own intrinsic value, of course. And it isn't really that much of a paywall because you're getting so much new stuff in here, where in the past, it was really a paywall just to get the book, perhaps, right? But we've seen where they put more and more miniatures in here, and I think those boxes tend to do better sales-wise. Okay, so back to the actual unboxing itself. Now, this is pretty cool when you pull it out of the sleeve here. It's got a couple of things. Secure this. So it's got this little Astra Militarism kind of regalia on the back, or standard heraldry, whatever you want to call it. And then on the front, it's got the full Cadian 8th standard bearer right there. Was it Cadian Gate and all that. And this was actually something we saw a very long time ago as an embossed standard from Games Workshop in the Cadian command squad. So that's really kind of cool to see. Like, they didn't used to make the banners to where they actually had, you know, all the patterns and everything in that. And when they started doing it, that was really neat, because you didn't have to do freehand. You just had to basically paint by number. So that was really cool to see. Once you get the box open, just like all the other boxes they do in the past, you're going to get the sprues on top. And then it's going to have this really cool little divider poster thingy. And we showed you before where you can get frames from Amazon for this. Hopefully yours isn't as dinged. This one's not too bad, I suppose. Nobody really noticed that. And then on the back is a Catachan kind of getting at a blood letter, it looks like. I think that's a blood letter. It looks like it's a blood letter. Or maybe this is supposed to be the mount down there. It's hard to tell if he's just getting blown apart. Or, I don't know what's going on there. Anyways. And then you actually get into the book and all the protected materials down here. That's why that piece of paper is on there. And this is really cool. It looks very neat as far as like the cover goes with the new Lord Solar. And on the back, you can rip this out if you're careful. Well, I guess you're just going to open it anyways. But this, you can get your instruction manuals out. It's going to come with all the bases. And of course, the card pack here. It doesn't launch box data cards produced in China like a lot of the stuff that this book right here is actually produced in China too. And it'll say in there like CNC or whatever publisher they particularly use there. We're not going to take a closer look at this because all this stuff is out there on the internet and people kind of already seen it at that point. But what I would like to dive into is this right here, so we can talk about making all the versions here and future-proofing your minis for that, well, edition change that we know is most likely about to hit in about 6 months or so. Okay, I always like looking at the instructions, and this build here is no different. So like I was saying, trying to memorize the base size is 100 millimeters for the larger weapon team. The Sentinel's going to be on 80, the Duder's on 25, and then the Command Squad is going to be on a 28. Each one of them has build variants that I'll show you here, and they're shaded. I really like these new full color assembly guides. These things are awesome, and they make it a lot easier to put this stuff together. So first up is the Cadian Command Group, and then each one will show you the different variants that you have to put together. But you can make so many different poses out of each one. It's actually pretty awesome. And then you've got those ones going down into here, and then here's the comm officer right there. And then it gets into the regular, oh no, you get one more veteran guardsman right there. So a lot of them can have the flamethrower on there, and I really like the poses, and I like how they do this, where they basically show you exactly kind of how it's gonna look. Like I like that guy right there, and then they had this other one. that, yeah, that pose looks dope. And then it gets into, hey, and here they are. And you got a little tank trap right there. It's an adorable little miniature tank trap. I don't know if that would actually function at all. But there it is. And then, boom, command squad. And then you get into the actual shock troops themselves. And they also have a lot of options here. So you can see for the upgrade sergeant, it's got a bionic option, or you can have them with a gun. Actually, what gun is that? I guess that's just the last gun. Weird. It looks like some sort of stubber. It's got a big drum on it or something wild. And then you've got all the different options. Like you can do the plasma, you can do the flamer right there. But keep in mind there is no heavy weapon team in here anymore. So that's a whole thing. And it actually looks like the heavy weapon teams have moved to 50mm bases as well. So you will have to rebase those depending on how you have your weapon team set up. I think they traditionally came in a 60mm base for the last 20 years or so. All right, so here's the field ordnance battery, and this is where we wanted to take a closer look really at and you know, I wanted to mention too, like, these guys don't look that hard to put together. Like, you know, a lot of them have the legs already together, and then the front and left half, and then you just kind of pick the head to go on there based on, you know, whatever pose you're doing here. And they got a lot of action pose, and there's enough. I mean, with 2 of each pose for all of the models in the squad, and remember each one makes 10. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of variance in your army. They're not all gonna look the same. But I'm really curious to see what the actual size of these guys is, because, you know, the old Cadians were a lot bigger than they probably should have been, and even the Catachans are a little out of scale with what they should have been. So I'm wondering which way, that if they kept the scale the same, if they crept it up, or they crept it back, or what have you there. Then the weapon field ordnance battery, rather, they both go together the same way. So you just basically get it up to this point, and then you're like, hey, you know, choose your driver. It's almost like he's doing a little exercise there with the little wheels, right? So you can have one of 2 different drivers, or you can just have the little handle there just by itself, depending on what you want to do. Obviously, painting more dudes is more work, so you kind of take that into consideration, right? And then to show you got a couple different heads and things that you can use for that, or you can just put the little handles on there. Then it gets into, hey, which one do you want to build? And from the looks of it, the front armor plates are the same on these ones, and obviously this one's going to be different because it supports in the middle there. But what I think we'd like to do is figure out how to make all of them. The problem is, and it might not be a problem because we haven't looked at the sprues yet, is these 2 parts right here that you don't glue on, the weapon mounts, so to speak, or the weapon pivots, they are the same for both of these. So they'll either give you 2 in here, which would be fine, or they won't, and then you're going to have to figure out how to do something with these, because it looks like it's got a little peg that locks into there. So really you'd probably be looking at some sort of magnet setup in the base or in the chassis of the ordnance battery itself. Now this one over here doesn't look too bad. It looks like each of the launchers just kind of plugs onto a central stem right there, and then it locks into this piece right here, and it has some sort of support bracket, and then another armor plate that goes on the front. Looks pretty explanatory there. Same with the heavy las, you know, you would just lock these in, don't glue it, and then attach power cords and everything for your little diorama with the people. Again, you can make all the gunners and all the loaders and all that stuff, but that's gonna, you know, be more stuff that you have to paint. Yeah, but the old weapon teams kind of did that already, so I could see where a lot of people might just be like, well, whatever, I'll just kind of do it, and you know, look dope, and you got all these little crates and things. I don't know if we'll have time to assemble all that, because I think at the end of the day we want to really figure out how to make this modular, so you know, you can future-proof your minis for all the additions and all the FAQs and all the things that we know are going to happen sometimes a little too soon. Now the Sentinel kit, you can build 2 different versions. Well, technically you've always in theory been able to do that, right? With the armored or the Scout Sentinel with the roll cage there that doesn't have quite as much armor. But what's cool now is you get to pick your pose. So depending on which side you put these particular legs and then mount the armor plates, you know, in the specific mount sides, you're gonna obviously have more variance as well for your kit. And if you take packs of Sentinels and things, so they explain how to put all that on. And then there's like some armor plates and things you can put on there, so I'll keep an eye on that. Some sort of wind up clockwork key back here, I guess. I don't know what that is. Is that a muffler? What is that? I don't think that's a muffler. Maybe it is a muffler. I don't think it is. That locks into here, or some sort of gyro. Maybe it's a gyro. I don't know. I don't know what that is. And then you build the cockpit, and it's got a bunch of different bits. That doesn't look too hard. Here's some exhaust back here, I guess, for the power plant. I don't. Yeah, I would assume that's a power plant. You got some protective areas there. How to actually get to the gear and the stowage in the pilot area, embark, disembark area, and then you get into the weapons themselves. And the weapons, this is what looks really cool. Is, if I'm not mistaken, this looks like a plug and play kind of deal right here. So you might not have to magnetize any of this. You just put all these parts together. It doesn't look like they share. Nope, they don't share any parts. And then maybe you can just plug and play those. And then on the opposite side, you have all the cool upgrades. Like, I don't know what this is, some sort of frag launcher, maybe searchlight. You've got the buzzsaw. You got a Holland killer missile. You got a bunch of stowage that looks like you would just glue it on. Oh, I didn't even realize there's this crazy intake thing up here. So I guess the engine is in the back behind the pilot area, and that's where your intake goes into and where your exhaust comes up out of. And then what I thought was really neat is that's the Scout Sentinel version, and then you just put these armored plates on, and they looks like they attach to the actual roll cage, which in theory you could leave off and then just attach them with a little blue tack. Even if you paint over it, it's not going to rip your paint off or anything, which I think is an awesome idea there. And it looks like all this stuff just plugs and plays. So really, the only thing that's left is to get in there, take a look at the sprues, and actually build them. First up, we're going to take a look at the Cadian Shock Trooper sprue here. Now, this is the sprue that's going to make 10 of the new Cadian Shock Troopers, and you may notice something. I either have really, really big fingers and hands, which I kind of sort of do, or these models are going to be really tiny compared to the old Cadians. And because that's a las gun right there. Take a look. Like, that's tiny. Even the flame tanks are pretty tiny. That flamethrower definitely tinier than the old Cadian one. I can tell already by looking at it. And these las guns are just adorable. What are these las guns for, ants? I don't know. I mean, I'm not like saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying they've obviously picked a scale, and they're sticking to it there. And I definitely respect that, because I don't think much of the guard stuff was even close to the same scale, or even an attempt to stay to the same scale from the early 2000s when they did plastic. So that's going to be really interesting. And remember, all of these are specific parts that can be built to make different variants. And then checking out the command sprue, the command squad sprue, not quite as packed for sure, but you can definitely tell the scale is about the same between the two, which is a good thing. For sure. And it's got all sorts of different weapon options, like we saw in the instructions there. I still don't know what this is. Are they working out? Is this a fishing? Is this a fishing? Is it a sinker? Like, I'm not sure what that little. Or is it a Cadian? Oh, that's it. It's a Cadian traffic cone. I get it now. That makes so much sense. So lots of stuff going on here for sure. I don't see anything that's hugely obnoxious or stands out to me. These left and right halves of a feet is going to be obnoxious for a couple of the builds, I'm sure, but not having put them together, I'm not really super sure about all that. But it's cool to see the embossed command squad flag right there, and then you can of course put whatever Cadian regiment or battalion or whatever you want on that one right there, because I leave that space open. Jumping over to the Sentinel. This looks a lot better than the old Sentinel kit, because everything's pretty much spaced out really nice, and you can tell you've got all the armor plates and things in one spot, all the leg bits and things all in the same spot over here. More of the weapons, the drivers, depending on what you want to do there. You have lots of options, some of the armor plating, and it does look like that's a socket there, and that's a peg. And if I had to guess, this stuff will socket right in without any magnets, which I'm definitely stoked and looking forward to. And then here's something that I didn't realize until just now. So the field weapon or field ordnance battery is 3 sprues, and it makes 2 kits. So something else that is 3 sprues and only makes 2 kits is the armigers, I believe, and those are $80. So there is a potential, you know, precedent that this kit could be as much as $80. Looking at it here, I'm not sure, you know, how good these are going to be in game, and honestly, me personally, right now, I don't care. I'm not going to play. If I get a wild hair out my butt, I will hobby on these, and you know, I got some extra little deathcore duders right here that I can use for all the crew and everything, and but I'm just not that into it right now. I don't know what it is. Like, I see this and I'm like, well, that's cool and that's a good price, but me personally, I'm just a little discouraged. I mean, it's dope. It looks very well done. I mean, you can see everything has really good tolerances here. Now this isn't. Oh, this is the part for the rocket pods. Where's that 19 and 20? So those are the weapon mounts, 19 and 20, and it doesn't look like there's any other one on here. So this is the extra. Is this the extra bit? No, it's that one. Okay, I see what's happening here. So they give you 2 of the same identical thing to make the weapons, and then they give you the carriages over here. So you only get 1 of this sprue and 2 of these that are going to be identical. So that's a problem, because now we know there's no extra weapon mounts there. This is just all crew stuff, and then the actual carriage that everything's going to kind of attach to. Yeah, that everything's... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that's open and hollow right there. And these areas right here in the middle are not. That might actually help us here in a few minutes. So that's a look at all the sprues. We looked at the values. We looked at the instructions. So I guess all that's left is to put these together and get some size comparisons and kind of go from there. Well, we'll start with the command squad here, and this is probably the most basic of all the command squad models, but it's still pretty dope. Like, you could see, I guess he's got a stretcher. I guess that's supposed to be a stretcher or a tent. I think it's a stretcher. Yeah, he's the medic. Okay, that makes sense. So these, man, they are small. They are small. They're so. I wish I had a normal Cadian, because they are so small. But not like in a bad way. Like, the models are dope. Like, I like them. I like them in maybe a semi-adorable kind of way, I suppose. But this is really cool that they're kind of keeping with the scale. And then this is the old Forge World Deathcore of Krieg guys, and you can see they're slightly bigger than the Forge World stuff. So they're right around the same size as the new plastic Deathcore. And then here's the regimental commander guy with power sword, and I like how the power sword's, you know, scaled down to the human level right there, and he's got a lot going on. Took off his baseball helmet. He's not doing hitting practice anymore, I suppose. They look like batter's helmets. I don't know, I get that batter's helmet vibe. I still love them, don't get me wrong. Power fist right there, you know, he's obviously got a bolt pistol and doing some yelling. Again, kind of, I guess that's about the right scale for a bolt pistol. It seems a little small to me. I mean, these ones are obviously bigger, but I don't know. I think it's appropriately sized. So that's neat. And then you've got the standard and the comms or regimental. What is this guy here? Whatever you pretty much want him to be, I suppose he could be right there. This guy looks a little basic, but you know, he's just standing around with the standard. Like, what do you want? What do you want? You know, it's just standing there. It's a lot of weight to just kind of be hefting around. And then the basic guardsmen too. Put together a decent amount of these just to show you some variants. Like, you've got some real action poses here. There's some very dynamic composition to these models. They all have packs, which are really, really cool looking. This guy right here, you got your sergeant with chain sword and bolt pistol, or you can do them a couple different ways. And then this guy's just kind of running through doing stuff. Another one taking aim. So just some really, really cool. And then the comms guys talking into his Dick Tracy watch right there, just kind of doing his thing. So those are really, really neat. And then we've got a lot going on here. Okay, so here's the Sentinel, and like I said, the Sentinel is it's on a bigger base than what we've been used to, and it's the feet are looking kind of chonky here. Now, something that I did want to mention. there are two different like alternating knee pads right here, so don't get discouraged by that. But what they tell you to do on the instructions is to put these shin guards on first and then put these on second. And let me tell you what, in some cases, I don't know, but we couldn't get, like, we just couldn't get this piece on right here. But then again, you probably didn't even notice it until I addressed it, that there isn't an armored bit here going over the joint. So what I would recommend doing is just kind of putting this down here, even if it's just resting on the foot, just so that when you're ready and you have your pose that you're going to use, you could just glue it down first and then glue these on, so you're not kind of like locked in and have to rip this off or anything like that, because that's just annoying. And then back here, like I said, is the muffler or the gyro. It looks like it might be a gyro. There's a big screw in there. Don't let a cat see that. You'll never see that cat again. It'll always be hanging on this thing. And then you've got the sockets here that give you the places, or the ports, so to speak, to put all the different weapons on. Now there's all these different weapons, and they all go together very well. Let me make sure I grab them all. This is how many things you can get. Like, look at all these upgrades. It's wow. I love it. Where else? Oh, this little thing right here. I think it's a frag launcher. If I had to guess, you got that missile launcher. And then we're just down to the armor. Oh, the searchlight too. And then we're just down to the armor plates. So like I said, all of these, you don't have to magnetize them at all. They'll lock in, and you can actually move them. They've got a little divot inside that you can kind of do that sort of thing, and it kind of almost auto sets to where you want it, and then you're good to go there. And like I said, the stuff over here, you can put these on. But I mean, you could even do a combination of, hey, I want the searchlight back here or whatever, you know. That seems to make a little bit more sense, I suppose, like over the shoulder kind of look. And then, you know, you got all these upgrade ports that you really don't need to specifically put anything anywhere, I don't think. And I really like, oh, where's the saw? Oh, this thing. So I didn't notice it in the instructions just now, but it's basically on a gimbal. Like, it just moves, you know. It's really cool. I really like this. So you can be like making your little buzzsaw noises, like and all those noises, because that's how we do when we play with our toys. And if that wasn't enough, the other thing that really impressed me about this kit is the fact that, yes, the roll cage, or the armor plates, just go on right over top of the roll cage. So you can just go ahead and paint it up, put a little blue tack on here, and then slap your armor plates on, and that would, you'd be able to build this right over top of the Scout Sentinel. So as long as you keep your bits, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about getting future-proofed. You'll just be able to put them right on there in case the rules change and something gets better or something gets worse, which is really, really cool to see. So I hope we saved the best for last here. And here we go. All right. So this is the new field ordnance battery, and it looks like it's fully assembled, but it's actually not. Well, it's actually not for a number of reasons. So we've got these little bicycle peddler guys here, right here, and like I said, I'm not really sure what's going on with these, and I'm not really sure where you want to exactly be sitting behind the weapon that's most definitely going to recoil, or perhaps, you know, have a huge power field or something going on if you're using the las cannon there. But this is the way that GW made the kit, and hey, it is what it is. So you can glue them down or paint them or just leave them off, because they give you the little little mousetrap things to the levers that you can glue on there separately. Or where's the other one? There's two of them you can actually make. There it is. So you can have, if you are going to go the crewman route, there's a couple of different ones, and you can have some variants, which is really cool. I like that. And then what is the other thing I wanted to show you about this? I don't exactly. Oh, yes, this right here. So the breech actually opens vertically right here, and you don't have to glue it down. It just flips up, which is really interesting. It's kind of like, I didn't expect that, but it is what it is. It's kind of hard to get if you let it close. And then remember, there's all the different bits. Like, you can have an actual shell, and you can have the guy holding the shell, and I didn't build any of that because I just wanted to get into the nitty-gritty and actually magnetize this, because this actually comes off. So what you have to do is, on the front here, you're just going to want to put a little blue tack on this armor plate, because depending on which one you're gonna do, you just slot it, just slot it in there, but it isn't tight enough to just stay, unfortunately. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. So then here, we just put 2 little tin plates, and you got to make sure that they're ferrous, because then you've got this, and these just are very, very snug of a fit. So as long as you don't glue any of this stuff together, what I recommend doing, and remember when I showed you that part a minute ago, that the bottom was pretty much hollow underneath. You can see from this drill hole that's completely hollow. But if you do it right here, right in the center, almost on the axle, a little bit this way, you can put in a couple of 1/8 inch by 1/16 inch magnets. Now I did a double stack to give it a little bit more power. As you can see, it's got a decent amount of power, but it torques a bit. So that's why it's fine, because you have the 2 locking in right here. So then let's grab the las cannon. And it looks like my power pack fell off, and that's okay. Which way does this go? Oh, like this. So then you just grab these, lock in for this. Boom. And then that attaches, and you can hold this, and you can go up and down. You can pivot if you want. I mean, this one probably wouldn't be so well, because it's going to have the little power pack right there. And then you just take your front armor plate and reattach it. And again, just paint everything up and put a little blue tack on there. It's not going to hurt your paint or anything like that. Poster tack, whatever you call it, in your area right there. And then you're good to go. Like, you have made it modular. And then you're probably wondering, well, what do I do with the other thing? The multiple launcher. So the multiple launcher just literally locks in and stays put just fine. And you can adjust it. And then it's got its own little armor plate as well that I don't have. Oh, here it is. This one's a little bit different because it has the vertical piece going right up the middle right there. So you just kind of got to hold it down, and then you can do the little pivot if you want, and make your whoosh, 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 multiple launch missile system noises right there. And so that's really cool. So I think we did it, and you don't have to lock in, be locked in. You can future-proof your weapon, because who knows what this, heavy las cannon thing will do. Which one of these will be more better in the long run? And if this ends up being a $60 or $70 kit, why be pigeonholed into making it a certain way when you can just paint everything up, have a little fun with it? You can put your duders out here, and like I said, I've got the, oh, his arm just fell off. Well, not that guy, but I've got all the guardsmen death corps, so it doesn't really matter which regiment you play. If you have extra dudes like I do, like, you can just glue them down. And now this isn't gonna, well, I guess it could quite work for that, but just put some generic guys on here. You can glue them down wherever you want, and just have some fun with it, really. That's what the name of the game is right there. And I think this kit definitely lends itself very much to just kind of messing around and having some fun. Overall, it's definitely a good box if you're in the guard and you have the extra $200 or less, depending on where you're getting your hobbies from. It's probably worth it to you, because you're going to get the early access book, which has its own value. You're going to get all the miniatures, which are all brand new, and we haven't seen that, I guess, since Chaos Knights was the last all new kit right there. And that was pretty well received. I think that box did pretty good. I think the Beast Nuggets box did pretty good, but I could see where there's going to be a lot of excitement over this box here. And of course, if it follows the same path to market as Sisters of Battle, which came out, I believe, in Black Friday of 2019, I want to say, and then all of the stuff for them came out into late January into early February. That was, and then they actually had a second wave the year later in 2021 as well, with the Paragon war suits. I just remember that too. Man, Sisters have had a lot of stuff. So hopefully they don't take as long to release all of the Cadian stand or the Imperial Guard stuff, like the Rogel Dorn battle tank right there, and we see that in a couple of months and not a year, because I just realized that there was a lot of Sister stuff. But we get to see it now, so it is what it is. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing and review of the new Cadian stands Imperial Guard Army box for Warhammer 40k. You know, always don't forget, you can always get your hobbies for less from dicehead.com, Amazon, and hopefully your local game store. But before you go over there, make sure you hit that follow button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at patreon.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too, to help support what they're doing. Plus, discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/spikybits.